A wonderful good morning to everyone. Bitcoin at 81,000 US dollars. There's not much going on. It's really, really quiet. Yesterday, we got inflation data that was above expectations. We now have 3.8% inflation. The dollar is rising again. Oil prices are rising. Bitcoin is rising. Stocks are rising. Basically, everything is going up. Really everything, except for altcoins. That's actually kind of scary. When you think about it, that altcoins would normally go up by 10 to 15%, but right now they're not moving at all. You really have to wonder what's actually going on in the world right now. But anyway, first of all, a very good morning to everyone. We're going to take a look at everything now, all the important news. Today, we're also getting new economic data, which we shouldn't underestimate, especially now after the inflation numbers. And otherwise, before we get started, as always, feel free to give the video a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, feel free to join the free Telegram Talk and Signal group as well. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, feel free to join. You can find the link for that for free below in the video description. Also, feel free to check out the channel as well. Join the Stocks and ETFs channel. There's currently a lot of action going on there, at least from what I post about stocks and ETFs, etc. Post there. Check it out if you like. Link is below in the video description. All right, let's start with the most important news. Iran's oil deliveries from Karg Island have been suspended for an extended period for the first time since the start of the war. That's why Iran is simply dumping the oil into the sea, so the sea gets free oil. Well, it's actually not a joke, but in the end, who's surprised? What a headline. Let's move on. Stock prices are rising with futures, while bond prices are falling due to inflation. Let's take a look at government bonds. Did government bonds fall overnight? No, not at all. On the contrary, the 5-year bonds are at 4.1 and the 10-year bonds are at 4.46. We're almost at the peak levels seen during the Iran war with 20 and 30-year bonds above 5%. And yes, that could slowly but surely become a problem. It says exactly the same thing here. At the current pace, we will likely see US mortgage rates rise above 7%. Just recently, let me check, I still have the article open, yes, right here. Mortgage rates have risen to 6.37%, and now they're already calculating with it 7%. That doesn't really sound good. So what's the situation with the Fed? Is the Fed doing anything about it? No. For now, the Fed is leaving everything as it is, at least for the next 2, 3, or 4 months. Or by December, we've now reached 30%. So the chance of an interest rate hike keeps increasing, and December still fits into my annual forecast that we should be more worried about the Fed raising interest rates sooner or later than anything else. And what's also very, very interesting today is that the CEO of NVIDIA is accompanying Trump on his trip to China, and not just him. If you go through this list a bit, and it really is really long, Elon Musk, the NVIDIA CEO, Tim Cook, Larry Fink, Steven Schwarzman, Kelly Ortberg, Brian Silks. These names remind me of something. All right, there was already a meeting a few months ago in England, remember? Where all the top executives were there as well. Maybe you should put all these companies on your watch list. What a coincidence that I'll be doing that over the course of the day. But anyway, that's that. Bitcoin, in any case, at this point, not really much happening. Price action, we're really in choppy price action. So not much is really happening. The sideways phase continues and the volume is noticeably low, declining. If we take a look at the heat map, we basically see the same thing. Nothing is happening. The market feels completely drained at the moment. Sorry for the blunt language, but that's just how it is. We're getting zero volume. The market is absolutely in a sideways phase. Today at 2:30 p.m., we'll get new economic data again, specifically producer prices, which are expected to rise to 4.9%. We have inflation at 3.8%, producer prices at 4.9%. That's the highest level since 2023. So you really have to let that sink in. It took 3 years to bring them down this far. Now we're back at this level again. And as long as oil prices remain high, nothing about this whole situation is going to change. So you have to accept that. As long as they keep rising, or let's say stay at this price level, inflation will, of course, continue to increase. And so will producer prices. And of course, wheat prices too, because the Strait of the Moose is closed. That means all sorts of things in the background are getting more expensive. That's a big problem. Just saying, by the way. But honestly, the markets don't really care about that, except for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just a bit boring at the moment, and it's kind of lacking that breakout potential. And for everyone who wasn't in the live stream yesterday, I also have a little pick-me-up for you. Yesterday, I took a closer look at the iShares, that is the iBit ETF from BlackRock. I examined it a bit more closely. And coincidentally, we're still in the area of the possible D wave. because with Bitcoin itself, the D wave is a bit questionable since it shot above the 1, or rather above the A. But here we still have a nice 5-wave structure that is completed. We have a nice A, B, C, D, and possibly a final E, which would then lead us to a final, or let's say a mega wave 3 in the next bull run, which could push Bitcoin towards 200K. Feel free to share your opinion in the comments below about what you think of this. But I actually think this chart looks really, really good. Let's wait and see what happens. As I said, with Bitcoin, things have just lost a bit of momentum right now. Not much is really happening. Let's take a look at the spot order book. So there too, we can see more selling again now in the last few hours, but it has clearly slowed down, at least over the past few hours. Right now, we're seeing a bit of a bigger sell-off again, but it's too quiet. It's much, much too quiet. But now we'll wait for the data at 2:30 p.m. and then I'll decide whether I will sell Bitcoin. Yes, you heard right. I might actually sell Bitcoin later today. Ethereum, $2,300 once again. Solana, same story. There's hardly any movement at the moment either. XRP back in our symmetrical triangle. The altcoin market is still dead. I'm still waiting for those 10, 15% moves that just happen out of nowhere, but somehow at the moment, nothing is really happening. It's really bad. If you want to trade all these cryptocurrencies, you can do it all on my partner exchange, BingX. At the moment, there are up to 10,000 USDT available. Bonuses if you register using my link below in the video description. Besides, you can not only trade crypto there, but also Forex and of course stocks as well. All kinds of things are available there. If you register with the link below, you'll be supporting the channel and of course me as well. You should be aware of that. But in return, you get a top-notch top exchange where you can really trade everything. So let's move over to the traditional markets. Let's start with gold. Gold isn't pumping anymore, to put it that way. But that's not surprising. When inflation rises, the hedge for gold is basically over for the time being. And that's why I said yesterday, if gold were to pump extremely now, it would really worry me because it just wouldn't make sense if inflation is rising and gold is simply going up along with it. But you also have to say it's not a real correction. In the end, it's just a marginal correction in this mini upward movement. So not much is really happening there either. Silver keeps pumping. Maybe now, even here, it's starting to slow down a bit. It might have reached the top, but the volume looks very, very good. So as far as I'm concerned, go for it. It doesn't make any sense at all. I'm telling you honestly, it doesn't make any sense at all, because at the same time, we have a strengthening dollar, which doesn't make sense. And of course, also the oil prices. Let's take a look over at Japan, the yen. After its 100,000th intervention and with the upcoming interest rate hike, which will probably finally happen in June, at least that's what it says here, the Bank of Japan is signaling the possibility of a rate hike next month due to inflation risks. Hey, what a surprise. You have inflation, so do the USA, UK. The UK has much, much bigger problems. Their bonds are at 5.8%. We've reached a global tipping point. In bond markets, just look at this. Japan is at a new all-time high. Everywhere, government bonds are hitting records. Wow. Something's going wrong, friends. But all right, for the next 4 to 6 weeks, now that Walsh has been confirmed, probably not much will happen unless some big news comes in. Because as I said, we first have to wait and see what all the central banks are going to do. First comes England, then the ECB, then Japan, and then the USA. It's going to be an exciting week, but right now, honestly, nothing is happening at all. Let's take a look at the 13 main markets. DAX, the DAX is kind of doing its own thing. No idea, it just doesn't seem interested in joining the party. Dow Jones, still no new all-time high. NASDAQ. Yesterday there was a slight sell-off, but that's already over again. The S&P 500 is tracking very, very accurately with the 2008 fractal, but as I said, in my opinion, it's still a bit too early to speculate about that now. As I said, based on the previous price action, it would fit very, very well. V-shaped recovery, new all-time high, and now a correction would at least make sense. We'll just have to wait and see. But otherwise, yes, the price action is catastrophic. We know how it is after all. Retail, and smart money is selling at the top. Volatility index still at 20, so no real changes there either. And yes, otherwise, when it comes to individual stocks, there's not much to discuss right now. Alphabet, slight correction. Amazon, slight correction. Apple still heading toward a new all-time high. Circle, once again, volatile as fuck, you have to say at this point. So, up, down, up, down. The direction hasn't really been decided yet. Right now, we're trying to establish the former resistance as support to set it. If that holds now, then as I said, we need a new higher high in order to pump toward $200. But otherwise, the market is calm. Let's wait for the numbers at 2:30 p.m. And apart from that, there's really not much to discuss. A quiet day. We'll definitely hear from each other again tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a like on the video. I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. And that's it from me. And we'll talk again tomorrow. Until then, bye, and as always, stay crypto.